Hello everyone, welcome on a new episode of Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight. Robert Spotlight.
Doing all this moderation stuff for Discord.
I'm a social media futurist.
Been a moderator at Be Friends.
Now it's my project because I love sports.
I'm speaking at NFT NYC.
Welcome on the show. Welcome everyone, welcome on a new episode of Robert Spotlight and Robert Spotlight today. Atharva, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Robert. Hi everyone. Thanks to you, Robert, for having me here. Looking forward to this conversation.
Perfect. So thank you for you to be here. Could you introduce yourself for people that don't know you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Atharva Sabnis. I am currently based in Mumbai, India, and I'm the founder of a company called NFT Labs. We are basically NFT product company with a sports focus. So I think an easy way to think about us is to think about us as the Asian version of the Canada-based Dapper Labs.
Okay. So it's like a Dapper Lab. Okay. So could you just a rapid fire kind of question? So NFT Labs, right? What is the purpose of NFT Labs?
The purpose of NFT Labs is to build very fun and easy to use NFT products, which will enable people who are very new to crypto and the NFT and Web3 scene to easily engage with NFTs. And more importantly, to use the NFTs as a medium to help sports teams achieve better fan loyalty and fan engagement. So basically, we build NFT games, so to say, but the purpose of these games and products is to engage with fans who are new to crypto.
Okay, perfect. What problem are you trying to solve with your project?
One of the big areas of opportunity in sports technology currently is that sports teams are looking for ways for in-stadium fan engagement. So when people go to a stadium for an event, how do we engage the fans while they are at the event itself? So NFT activations happen to be a very fun, cool, and innovative way to achieve this in-stadium fan engagement. And that is the opportunity which we have identified. So most of our products are built in a way that the people acquire the NFTs by actually attending in-stadium events. And then the engagement around these NFTs can also happen outside the stadium. But the initial point of entry into the NFT Labs ecosystem is through stadiums and live events.
Okay, perfect. And regarding the activation in stadium, what is your view in 5-10 years windows?
So you know I think broadly speaking, right, the kind of niche audience that we are currently catering to. So people who are crypto curious, NFT curious, and are also going to sporting events. So that is the kind of niche audience that we are currently catering to. But I think over time, this niche audience will actually grow to an audience size that is large enough for it to become mass market. So over time, I think in like a 3 to 5 year window, we will not be a niche product company anymore. It will be more of a mass market product company. And the NFT of offerings will also have evolved and become more mature, wherein they will basically be akin to a fan loyalty program. I think there will eventually not be a distinction between a sports fan loyalty program and an NFT project. That fan loyalty program will be the entry point of how these NFTs are acquired and interacted with.
Okay, perfect. So thank you. It's the end of the rapid fire question. I'm thinking for the post-production for social media. So let's go deep on the conversation now. So your NFT Lab is building a project for, so it's a marketplace dedicated around sport, you know, and as you said, it's the entry point, it's the activation in stadium, right? So
Correct.
Could you talk a little bit more about what kind of activation is happening right now with your project?
Yeah, so actually we have two core products right now, right? One is called It's Mine, which is the social NFT sports marketplace. And there is a product called MyWin. So the way that people get activated in the stadium is that if you go to a sporting event in North America or Europe in the near future, on your ticket or somewhere in the stadium, you will see QR codes and very simple short URLs. If you interact with these links, you will come to our web application where we will take you through a simple game. And that game can be which team do you think is going to win to today? Or which parcel of that soccer field will the last match point be scored from? So if you pick the correct team, you basically get entered into a pool of people who have picked correctly. And everybody who has made a choice, whether the choice wins or not, gets a free POAP and an NFT, which commemorates that they were at that event on that particular date. And out of all the people who claim an NFT, a handful of them who are the lucky winners, they win a grand prize, which is typically an autographed sports jersey or something very cool that is a sports merchandise item. And the way that this actual grand prize is the reason why people interact with these QR codes and links in the first place. So it's like a raffle program wherein a few thousand people at every event participate in the raffle. Maybe 5 or 10 of them win a grand prize. But for everybody else who does not win a grand prize, they can then use these NFTs to participate in more algorithmic tournaments, which we conduct on our application, where they have more opportunities to win NFT and sports merchandise rewards. And they also have the ability to engage in secondary trading of these NFTs on our marketplace, which is It's Mine. So both of these products are interconnected. People, the sports fan first comes into the ecosystem with our product MyWin at the stadium. And then once he has used MyWin and given those attempts to win a grand prize, he may choose whatever merchandise he wins or whatever NFT he has collected. He may choose to trade that in It's Mine, but he is not restricted to only It's Mine. He can also take it to OpenSea or any other supported marketplace.
Okay, perfect. It's pretty clear. It's what you did for Tottenham versus AS Roma?
Yeah, exactly. So for Tottenham versus AS Roma, we did a soft launch of MyWin, where it was a match in Haifa, Israel. So I think we had a total attendance of 13,000 fans in the stadium, and out of the 13,000 fans, roughly 3,500 fans claimed these NFTs. And I think
Sorry, how many? I didn't catch the name.
Out of 13,000 people in the stadium, 3,500 fans actually claimed our NFT.
Okay, so it's like 10% if I get my math right.
No, it is 13,000. 13,000.
Oh,
so it's actually close to 30%.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty good metric. And out of these 3,500 people who got the NFT, 4 people won the grand prize.
Okay, perfect. And what was so I will assume that there was kind of a surprise for people. What was the feedback that you got about that activation?
I think there were a couple of different feedbacks, right? One feedback was that some people thought that it is not fair that for so many thousands of fans, there are only 4 winners. So one of the feedbacks was to increase the winner pool, so more fans have the opportunity to win something. The second feedback was around our product UI and UX. We tried to simplify it as much as we could, but still some people thought that there were some points of friction in the user journey, which we should fix going forward. So both of these feedbacks have been taken into consideration, and we are working that for the next upcoming launches, it will be a much more clean and sleek product, and we will hopefully be able to support more number of winners per match.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. Regarding the simplification, what was complicated for the end user?
So I think so what happened is that one thing was a communication gap, wherein at the stadium, the partners who we were working with were communicating that you can claim NFTs. But in our mobile app, we actually call the NFTs as collectibles. So that was one disconnect that I thought it would be obvious to everyone that it's the same thing, but it is not so obvious to everyone that it's not the same thing. So I think communication and messaging needs to be standardized for everyone. And secondly, what happens that when you're at a sporting event, you can imagine 13,000 phones in the stadium. So every phone's internet bandwidth is significantly compromised. So the web app needs to be further optimized to be able to load within a few seconds and for the fan to be able to complete their journey fast enough, even in a low internet bandwidth scenario.
Yes, makes
Plus,
sense.
what we need to do going forward is possibly localize the application based on the location of the event. So, for example, in Israel, if we had a Hebrew version of the application, it would have really helped some of the fans over there. But we had only English. So now going forward, we will be localizing the application to the country's language as well.
Okay, makes sense. So basically, that first activation give you a lot of work to do. But it's great because it's going to improve your project. But first, let's also talk about what happened before the activation, because you say that when people come to the stadium, there is a kind of a disconnect between what was said somewhere and between NFT and collectibles. Could you talk a little bit more about what happened before people come to the match and can enjoy the activation? Did there was any kind of email sent before coming to the game? We prepare, we have a fun game for you, etc. What happened basically?
Yeah, so I think in an ideal scenario, there should have been communication before the game, where we kind of educated and warmed up people to the idea of this activation. But for the Haifa event, we only had a 1 month notice. So from the time that we were told that we are selected for this game to the time that the game actually went live, and our product wasn't even ready at that point. So in that 1 month, we were actually on complete war footing to get things barely working, just in time. So a lot of the actual seamless preparation which should have happened on the back end for the fans beforehand we did not have the chance to get into it. So actually what happened is that before people came to the stadium, they had no idea that there is such an activation happening. Only when they came to the stadium did they discover that this is happening, and we had kept QR codes at various locations to educate people that, hey, you can scan this QR and you can win an autographed jersey or something of that sort. But I think if we had told people something beforehand and given them the ability to pre-register for the game, that would have made the experience much more seamless. And now going forward, we are doing all of these things. But just for the first event, it was a timing issue. We have a small team and we were constrained technically and also constrained in terms of what we could expect from the partners and preparation time and so forth.
Okay, make a perfect sense. What would be your plan? So to be agnostic about that issue. So me on my head, the keyword that come to my head, it's kind of onboarding, right? So it's before having the fan coming to the stadium, is to have a pre-onboarding phase. So what are the plans that you have for that phase?
Yeah, so I think going forward, like you said, right, before coming to the stadium, so we can call that for probably the pre-boarding. So during the pre-boarding phase, the idea going forward is that when a fan purchases a ticket, the communication that they receive from the ticketing partner will include a message and a URL. With the message will be something very simple that, hey, this is a fun activation that is completely free for you to participate. And if you want to find out more, please visit this URL. That URL will take them to a landing page where they get to see the game details, and they can also pre-register for it. So that when they come to the stadium, the onboarding is smooth enough that they don't have to again register. They simply continue from where they left off. They have to only pick the team or pick the player or pick the parcel, and then the fun starts. So I think going forward, this email communication with a message and a landing page URL is what we are going to be including. And if we get the opportunity, if we get the permission from the partner, then we will also do other things like sending SMS notifications or WhatsApp alerts or things of that sort. But right now, we only have the permission to get a mention in the email. So that's what we are starting with.
Okay, perfect. And that it's going to come from your mail domain. It's not going to come from. So, for example, if the game it's Tottenham versus Roma, the email is going to come from the Tottenham domain name or from your domain name? So it's going to come.
Oh no,
from
it will come
NFT
from.
Labs?
It will come from
Okay.
NFT Labs. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, and so moving forward, so there is this pre-boarding, there is a fan coming to the stadium. What are your plans at this stage? So just before that, the people scan their ticket and go to the stadium. Do you have any plan for just before entering the stadium?
So actually, basically the pre-boarding is completely before stadium, and at the stadium, the only activation is to scan the QR code or visit the URL directly and enter the game. There are no additional steps to this. But from the point of view of the sports organizations, the cool part happens at the back end. So what we are doing is that we are pioneering a technology where we are treating the NFTs as the Web3 equivalent of tracking cookies, which means that if you as a fan get a NFT, that NFT by default comes into a custodial wallet so that we can remove the friction of MetaMask and all these things. But once you receive the NFT, we give you a nudge or a notification saying that, hey, if you are a new Web3 user, and then here is your opportunity to create your own non-custodial wallet, and we will move that NFT in your ownership free of charge. The moment you create your new non-custodial wallet and you move that, and we move that NFT for you, we start tracking the activity in that wallet to figure out in the future what trades you might do on a crypto exchange, on a DEX, or what other NFTs you may purchase to create a user profile or a user persona. And this user data is used by the sports organizations for their marketing purposes. So for example, in the future, if they want to tie up with somebody like Socios and sell fan tokens, then they will know which are the more likely people to buy these fan tokens based on the fact whether these people have purchased any previous NFTs or not. If they want to work with somebody like Dapper Labs and launch collectibles, they will also have insights on who are more likely to buy collectibles based on the fan history of previously purchasing PHP NFTs or collectibles. Plus, this data can be monetized by giving it to crypto exchanges like Binance and so forth, so that they can also run advertisements to people who they think are more suitable target audiences. So the backend data is where the monetization takes place. But to protect the privacy of our users, it only works on an opt-in basis. So when you get a notification to move the NFT to your wallet, we tell you that this is what will happen with your data. If you consent to it, only then this happens. But the way that we incentivize you to give your consent is that if you actually link that wallet and move the NFT, then we will give you an extra boost on your raffle ticket. So if there are 13,000 people and 5,000 of them get the raffle ticket, all 5,000 tickets have the same odds of winning. But all the people who are connecting their wallets and consenting to their data being used get a boost on their raffle, so that they have a higher chance of winning the grand prize. If that makes sense.
Yes, it make a lot of sense. So we say that. So here you talk about the backend. So it's more between the relations that you have with your partner, and what is the feedback of your partner regarding the fact that you will be able to provide a tech that will enable them to track better. What are the feedback from the partner?
I think the initial response is very positive, which is why we are getting the opportunity to launch in multiple games. But currently, the technology itself, which is a bit nascent, right? So we're currently in the pilot phase for that tracking algorithm. So it is something that will take time to become meaningful, because the more data that we have, the more kind of analytics we can do on that data, and the more valuable the insights that we can provide will become. So initially we are giving them data, and that data is useful, obviously, but that data's utility and usefulness is algorithmically proportional to the volume of the data that is being processed. So it's actually exponentially proportional, not algorithmically. So the more data we have, the more valuable every data point becomes.
Makes sense. Okay, perfect. Regarding the roadmap, what are the new feature? Maybe right now your focus, it's as you said previously, it's to improve the UX, to have a better experience for the end user. But in your roadmap, are you thinking about new feature that you didn't see right now on the market?
Yeah, so currently, the part which I mentioned in the beginning, that out of the few thousand people who get the NFT in the stadium, a few of them win the prize. Everybody else who does not win the prize gets the opportunity to participate in algorithmic tournaments. So this is almost like fantasy sports in a way. But the algorithmic tournament bit is an extension to the core application itself. So our current roadmap has on highest priority the agenda that these algorithmic tournaments should be fun and easy to participate in. So currently the main plan is to build out that part of things. Plus we are migrating all of our on-chain infrastructure to a blockchain called Scale network. So Scale is an Ethereum-based L1, L2 hybrid. So far we were working with Polygon, Near, BNB chain, and so forth. But going forward, Scale will be the core blockchain that gets used. So that is the other thing in our roadmap. And the most important part is the backend part about data analytics and data extraction, which is something that could take years to perfect, but we need to launch the first version ASAP.
Okay.
And then we have the business side of things, that we need to tie up with more teams, more clubs, more federations to be present at more of these events and activities. And then the longer roadmap would basically be to take this beyond sports into all other types of events like music, concerts, festivals, and so forth.
Okay, makes sense. So it's first you make one use case work properly, and after you expand to that use case into the industry, and after to the full event industry. Make a lot of sense. Regarding the scale blockchain, you say that it's a hybrid L1, L2. Why did you choose that blockchain?
So recently we took part in a pitching competition. So last year we took part in a pitching competition at NFT San Francisco, and over there we won a prize. That competition was sponsored by Scale, and as a result of participation and the award, we got to interact with the team at Scale. And the more we interacted, the more we kind of got the sense that we were on the same wavelength about where we see the utility of NFTs moving towards. So I think that fundamental vision alignment further incentivized us to go deeper into trying to figure out if there are benefits of us working together and so on. And it turned out that there are many benefits, but one key benefit is the idea of Scale hubs. So the way that Scale is structured is that, think about Scale like AWS. They give you your own server instance, but they call it a Scale sidechain. So you can have a dedicated Scale sidechain for your own transactions and assets and so forth. And some other blockchains also do this. It is just that Scale is able to support millions of transactions at scale, and the cost per transaction is very, very cheap. So the idea is that when we tie up with big partners, say the likes of FIFA and so forth, we want to be able to give them the flexibility of choosing to be on their own dedicated sidechain. They don't need to share that infrastructure with anybody else. Okay. And Scale is enabling us to do this. Plus, Scale is also very aggressive when it comes to giving us marketing and technical support, to the extent that now when we talk to clients and so forth, the Scale core team, including the founders themselves, are sometimes able to come on the call and help us close the deal and so forth. So it's actually becoming like a nice partnership, wherein how Polygon became the business development arm of Ethereum and achieved massive scale. We might end up becoming the business development arm of the scale in the network, and together we can grow significantly. So it's actually a much more meaningful partnership that goes much deeper than simply just using their blockchain.
Okay, makes sense. So I understand. Thank you very much. It's a very you explain very well why you choose, what is the opportunity, and basically your long view with that partnership. Let's talk a little bit about BizDev. So what are your activities? Because basically you have been able to made some activation on the past. So I will assume that you have to do a lot of biz development to be able to do other activation. So could you talk a little bit about that part?
So I think when it comes to selling in the sports industry, credibility is the most important factor, right? And then coupled with track record. When we were absolutely new and we had no track record and little credibility, it was very hard for us to get our first client or our first deployment. The way that we kind of overcame this challenge was to work with sports tech accelerators. And we got very lucky early on that we got selected into a sports tech accelerator in Israel called Hype Sports Innovation. And Hype Sports Innovation is the world's leading sports tech accelerator. So they have a partnership ecosystem with sports organizations around the globe of over 200 different brands. And Hype was able to kind of put us in front of the correct decision makers and also vouch for us to those decision makers that, hey, we trust this startup, they can deliver what they promise. Why don't you give them a chance? And through Hype, we got a lot of the initial traction, including the Israel activation with Tottenham and Roma. So this accelerator route has been very helpful. In addition to this, we tried a lot of outbound marketing, but that had very limited success. What we found more success with was inbound marketing. And the way we have done inbound marketing is by trying to establish ourselves as thought leaders in the space. And to establish ourselves as thought leader in the space, what we do is that whichever major crypto events or NFT events take place, we make sure that we have an opportunity to participate over there in some capacity. For example, last year I was a speaker at Web3Conf India. This year I'm speaking at NFT NYC, Miami NFT Week, possibly a couple of more events, and so on. So a lot of the target audience who's NFT curious or crypto curious also discovers us through these events and through these talks and lectures that we give. And that's how some of the conversations open up.
Okay, perfect. And so when you are an event, after your talk, some people maybe get to you, or it's maybe during the event that you are able to do any kind of networkship and able to increase your network and have incoming opportunities. I will assume.
Yes. So sometimes we meet people who can be potential channel partners, right? They could open up the door to a customer. Sometimes we meet some customers so basically the event is just the opportunity to have a first conversation. After that, we have to still go into the entire enterprise sales cycle of a sports team, right? Which takes time. But at least if we were, at least the fact that we have established ourselves as credible entities in the space helps once we have a foot in the door. And I think getting the foot in the door is the most key part. And one more thing we have noticed is that it takes a lot of follow-ups and a lot of time. So for example, we have invested over 1 year with some partners and we still don't have a commercial agreement, right? But we are on the path that maybe in a few weeks or a few months that agreement will happen. So we can't just lose hope and let go of the client. There's a lot of hand-holding and a lot of follow-up and a lot of education, a lot of patience that goes into getting these deals.
Okay. I will assume that all these things happen by hand. Did there is any automation in place right now? It's it's a very organic. It's kind of I'm going to put something on my calendar. I have to call that person either to do an email, or this thing. Or are you nurturing the conversation?
No, I think so. Every conversation is so different and so distinct and so customized and at such different stages that we are not at the scale where we can automate the sales process at all. Everything is highly manual, and I literally use Google Sheets and stuff to keep track of all of this. We are not at the stage where we're using HubSpot based automation or something
Yes.
like that. We have tried all of that, but it has not gotten the kind of results that we are looking for. So now we are doing things which don't scale to get the initial first customers.
Makes sense. So, thank you for all this explanation. Do you have did there is anything that you want to say about NFT Labs that I didn't give you the opportunity to?
Couple of things, right? What we have currently done so far is just the tip of the iceberg in comparison to what vision we have for NFT Labs. The idea behind NFT Labs is to kind of build like a Google suite for NFT products, where if you think about it, something like Gmail or Google Calendar or Google Classroom, when they onboard kids, so we are also onboarding sports fans, into the with one product into the broader ecosystem. But then once they are in the ecosystem, the idea is to build a variety of products so that they can they get more value by staying in that ecosystem, and it is also a more lucrative customer for us and a more profitable user to have on board. What we have currently begun with in-stadium fan activation, marketplace, these are just the initial products. Over time, there will be much more that happens. And in fact, we are working on a couple of things right now also in stealth mode, which we have a lot of hopes for. But the idea is that whatever we are building, the vision is not to build one product. The vision is to build a suite of products, all of which are interconnected, and the fans and the users will get utility from multiple products, even though they might get onboarded from just one product.
Okay, perfect. What is the main problem that you have right now building NFT Labs?
I think main problem would be the fact that we chose a market. We chose the business model of B2B2C. So we need to first tie up with a sports organization, and then that's how we get the users. It is not a direct user acquisition model. Okay. This is not what we had intended in the beginning, but somehow the plans evolved and it became this. But because of this B2B2C approach instead of a straightforward B2C approach, scaling and sales cycles are taking a lot longer, and the customer acquisition cost has gone up significantly. I still think we are on the right path, because once these partnerships convert and the results start coming in, the acquisition will be much faster than a conventional B2C model. But it is one of those cases where I can't claim that we are right until we actually have been there and done that. So right now it is all hypothesis that this is what we think will work, but it may turn out that we're completely wrong and it may never work. So I think that is the the ambiguity of a B2B2C model and the long sales cycles are the most difficult part, because as a startup, we are operating under various resource constraints, right? So ideally we want to have quick acquisition, quick onboarding, quick monetization. But right now, onboarding itself and acquisition itself is taking a lot of time because of these partnerships and the fact that these sports teams are legacy organizations who work at their own pace. Web3 is not so much a priority for most of them. So there's a lot of customer education that is required and so forth. And plus then, when we convince these teams to do something in Web3, then we have to also compete with the likes of Dapper Labs and Animoca and all these big players in the market who have already established themselves and they're paying big sponsorship fees, whereas we can't afford to do that either. So we have to basically compete and be innovative with the value that we are offering, but also not take too long to deliver that value. Else we as a startup, we risk running out of funds before we ever get to that critical velocity.
It's very challenging. I will assume it's very challenging. Do you have a kind of a peer of startup founder, or do you have any kind of mentorship of someone that have already been a kind of a startup founder and successful to build his startup to help you on your journey?
Yeah, so luckily we have been so one of the early things we found out is that we need a lot of support from the ecosystem, right? So we were lucky that in addition to Hype Accelerator, we were also part of Antler Singapore. We were part of Long Hash Ventures in Singapore. We were part of Cello Bootcamp. So through these networks combined, we have access to a lot of mentors and advisors and guides and so forth. And we are trying to make use of these resources as much as we can. So luckily that support system is in place. Plus we have other core advisors in the company as well, people who are crypto native, who have successfully built businesses, gotten exits and so forth. So all of that ecosystem is there. But ultimately it's about achieving the traction that we intend to achieve in a reasonable time frame. And right now, the fact that the market has also kind of gone a bit cold further extends the sales cycles because things are taking longer.
Okay, perfect. And could you talk a little bit about your competitor and how you rank? I don't want to ask something difficult to reply, but it's more like to talk about the competition. So you have already talked about what you try to achieve, what problem you solve, how you solve it, the opportunities that you have seen, and we not really talk about the competition. So if you are agree to talk about it, maybe we can talk about how you are different than the competition. So first, who is the competitor, and what are the key difference between you and the competition?
So when we got started, I think there were about 65 or 70 companies in the sports NFT space. As of last month, there are at least 600 or 650 companies in the sports NFT space.
Okay.
And these are companies which I know of. So if you account that I don't know most of the things, then there will be a few thousand companies that are actually there in the world. But then the big differentiator for which kind of determines which company will become successful is actually just traction. The more traction you have in terms of the clients you work with, the more leverage you have when it comes to onboarding new clients, because you already have a portfolio built and you can kind of leverage the network effects of this portfolio to get future clients. So the big differentiator is just traction. And the way to achieve traction is to convince these sports organizations to work with you in some capacity, where you have to further differentiate yourself from what value addition you're doing. So the way that we have kind of done this is that we treat two companies as our biggest competitors, Socios and Dapper Labs. Dapper Labs does collectibles, Socios does fan tokens. And most of the teams and clubs we are working with are familiar with these two guys, or they are already working with these two companies in some capacity. So you come with the assumption that they're already working with Dapper Labs and Socios, and that we cannot yet beat Dapper Labs or Socios at their own game. Then we need to figure out how can we work with this sports organization, despite the fact that they're already working with Dapper and Socios. Then we have to figure out what different value we can add. That is how we were able to figure out this white space about in-stadium fan engagement. Because Dapper and Socios, their activations are not so much for in-stadium fan engagement, they're for general fan engagement with Web3. So our value is specific in-stadium fan engagement, and that is our core differentiator. And as a startup, we know that maybe just this one, the differentiator is not enough. because tomorrow even Dapper and Animoca or Socios can simply come up with their own Instagram product as well, and they can try to beat us. But the idea is that before that happens, we want to achieve a critical mass, or we want to figure out how to strengthen this differentiator or add more differentiators. So it's just a race against time to figure out how we can survive against these competitors before they come and kill us.
Okay, make a lot of sense. So thank you for that reply, because it was that can be seen as a hard question, and basically you have delivered a very thoughtful reply, and that also incentivize to understand really what is your core value. So it's really the in stadium activation. So thank you for that. And let's talk about more of your background now a little bit. So I saw online that you had a conversation with Kevin Abdurrahman. Yeah. So I hope that I didn't that I pronounce the name right. So it's a prominent advisor to a variety of global web gaming and metaverse project. Would you be able to summarize the conversation that you had with Kevin?
I think there was more about a conversation about my background, about how I got interested in the NFT space, how the team came together, how we had the idea behind NFT Labs, what were the initial challenges we faced, if we did a pivot, and what our future plans for the company were in general. And I think some of the comments I got after that interview was that what people found probably most interesting was the part about the background, or how actually we got started in the NFT space. So if you want, I can talk about that a bit over here as well.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So I did my my education in Eastern New York, right? In a university called Rochester Institute of Technology. That's in the US. So while I was at RIT, we were about, I think, 6 hours from New York City by road. So we used to visit New York City quite frequently for work, for fun, whatever. 2014, there was a conference in New York City called 7-on-7. It was an art technology conference. Somehow I don't remember how, but I got a pass to visit this conference, and I thought, why not? Let's go and check out what is happening over there. That 7-on-7 conference was the first time ever that the an NFT concept, the way it is right now, was presented. So there was an Indian entrepreneur called Anil Das, who actually gave a presentation about a concept that he at that time called monetized graphics. That time I did not know that this monetized graphic would become today's NFT, but connecting the dots backwards, that was my first exposure to the concept of an NFT. And he was not the first one to do it, because art on the blockchain has been around since 2011. But he kind of took it forward to explain a variety of more use cases and so forth. So I went to that conference, I heard the presentation, I thought this was interesting. But then I think, like most other people, when I left the conference, I completely forgot about it, paid no attention to that at all. Then I came back to, then I started my first venture, which was in Web 2, which was a startup. And I got busy in that hustle about growing my startup and so forth. And I completely did not pay attention to what was happening in this monetized graphics space. But then you fast forward to 2017, I think the first NFT project that I heard of was a project called Etheria, which was a world map kind of NFT collection on Ethereum blockchain. And then I kind of remembered that, hey, I had heard about this concept as monetized graphics in 2014, and now after 3 years, somebody has actually done something with this, and maybe something will happen. But then again, I did not pay that much attention to it. But then you fast forward to maybe a couple of more years, and then we had the CTO of Dapper Labs actually coined the term NFT. So the Dapper Labs CTO was the one who actually coined the NFT term. NFT was not a word before that. They were the first ones to kind of bring this term to market. And I think that term really clicked, because monetized graphics doesn't have the same ring to it as NFT does. So it was a brilliant marketing stroke. And I think a lot of things happened together, right? Dapper Labs came up with NBA Top Shot. NBA Top Shot was almost an overnight success. Then we had the Jack Dorsey famous tweet, which got sold for a couple of million. Then we had the Beeple artwork, which got sold for a ridiculous amount. A lot of things happened in quick succession. And sometime during all of this, I also saw OpenSea's name in the Y Combinator startup directory. I saw them in the very early days. I thought that they're the Amazon of NFTs. I was like, wow, this is cool. But what happened is that come to around 2019 or 2020, so much had already started to happen in the NFT space that I got serious FOMO in a way, that I thought that, hey, I had noticed the birth literally of this concept at 2014, and I lacked the vision to even imagine where this would be going forward. And now fast forward to 2020, so much has already happened, but we are still very early. So that same sense was always there, that it's still very early, and that I should, I kind of had this itch that I need to do something in the space. I wasn't very clear on what to do, but something I had to do was very clear. So I think that itch kind of manifested to me deciding to finally build in the space. And then I started exploring a bunch of ideas. And then 2020, I took the leap, that we have to begin building. And the idea initially was just to build a marketplace, but for Southeast Asian market. So like an OpenSea version of that. But then but then very quickly we figured out that it is not the best idea to simply copy OpenSea. We should figure out something more nuanced. And that's how we went down the rabbit hole of sports NFTs. And that's how it evolved into in-stadium fan engagement. And then that's how today we are having this conversation. But I think the seed of all of this was planted in 2014 when I first heard about that presentation in New York City.
Okay, perfect. And it was a presentation. Could you say again the name of the location and who gives that presentation, please?
Yeah, there was a pair of people. So the location was New York City. The conference was called 7-on-7, and the presenters were two people. One was an entrepreneur called Anil Das. It is ANILDAS, and with him. Yeah, and with him we had one more presenter whose name was, I think, Kevin McCoy. So Kevin McCoy and Anil Das together gave this concept representation when I first heard about it.
Okay, perfect. So let's make a quick transition about Road to Web3 Masterclass. So it's something that you are going to handle. Could you, without going too deep in it, how would you structure the Web to Web3 Masterclass?
So this was a masterclass that I gave for a startup accelerator, right? Where they had a bunch of very smart people who were crypto curious or NFT curious or Web3 curious to come and understand the basics of what NFTs and Web3 are all about, and also to an extent cryptocurrency and everything else. So I think that was just like a very basic overview of, if I had 1 hour to educate somebody who's completely unaware about Web3, how would I kind of initiate them into this world? By just talking very high level, very fundamental level, what is Bitcoin? How does it get its value? What is cryptocurrency? How is Bitcoin different from cryptocurrency? Or how is Bitcoin different from Web3? What are NFTs? What are fungible tokens? How are they different from non-fungible tokens? Why are all of these things accruing value? What are market cycles? What is bull market, bear market? And what is... So basically just like the basics, just the top level of fundamentals of what is what. Like a quick, almost like a rapid fire lecture, so to say, about what Web3 is. So that was a masterclass which I gave, and it was like a 1 hour session, which I hope was valuable to the people who were there. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. And congrats to the feature on the US today. Could you talk a little bit on how that thing happened?
Oh yeah. So I think that was a feature which was brought to us by one of our investors actually. So he kind of reached out to me one day, told me that, hey, there's this opportunity with USC today. They are looking to cover some Web3 startups, some NFT companies specifically. And why don't you submit your company? And if they like it, then you might get a free feature. So I was like, cool, let's do it. So it was like a questionnaire kind of a thing where they had a bunch of questions. We gave a bunch of answers. There was some clarification about some of them, and they decided to put us in that list of, I think, the list was initially called 20 of the hottest NFT companies in 2022. But then I think instead of 20, they cut out a few. So it's like now I think 16 or 17 of the hottest NFT companies in 2022. So we are fortunate to be in that list.
Okay, perfect. And my last question is going to be around the fact that you are using Web3 to building in stadium activation game, right? How would you explain would you be able to do the same without Web3 technology? Meaning like with a Web2, would you be able to achieve the same thing that what you want to achieve right now?
Yeah, of course. So see, it can be achieved, right? It is just that by using Web3 as the underlying technology, we keep the door open to be able to deliver further utility down the line. Because as we know, even despite all of the advancements in the NFT space and so forth, the whole thing is still nascent. The idea is that let us bring in the fans into the NFT world right now with this simple in-stadium activation. And over time, let's figure out how to deliver them utility. So I think the fact that the utility that we deliver may evolve over time, and that utility should be tradable. People should have the option to completely own the right to that utility, and they should also have the right to be able to transfer that utility to somebody else if they wish, without approval of any centralized agency. To enable these two things, that is why we decided to use the Web3 or the NFT route. Had these two factors not been a key consideration, we may have just done an in-stadium loyalty program, right? We can do a raffle draw without having an NFT get the raffle at all. But then that raffle draw is not, it's not user controlled eventually. Like they cannot transfer that utility. They don't really own that utility. They're not collecting any valuable souvenirs which may appreciate over time and so forth. And plus, we may not be able to deliver them further value in the future for having participated in the first place. So to keep that bridge open, that door open, we decided to go the Web3 route.
Okay, perfect. So it was a wonderful conversation. Do you have any last word, or do you want to say something that I didn't give you the opportunity to talk about?
I mean, so I guess for people, I don't know exactly where the listeners are, but if any of the listeners are coming to Miami NFT Week or NFT NYC and so forth, I'll be there. I'm happy to, I'm always open to meeting people. Whatever you want to talk about, happy to talk about. You can also reach me on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you wish, about anything, right? It doesn't have to be about NFT Labs. It can be about anything. If you feel that I can add value to you in any way, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help. I'm always available. And yeah, I think that's all I had to say, Robert. And thank you for the opportunity of giving me this platform and for asking some very good questions.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for the thoughtful reply. I learned a lot today around in stadium activation and your views, the opportunity in the long run. So thank you for that. And I'm going to say to you, see you soon on social or maybe in an event.
Yeah, see you soon. Thank you, Robert.
Bye.
Bye.